Today's lesson is an intro to volume of cylinder. So the formula that you need to write on your paper is V equals pi r squared times the height. Now the radius is half of the diameter. So you can see down here with the r, that is my radius. If you ever see a problem with the word diameter or d, what this means is that it's all the way across. So if I have a diameter, it's going to be all the way across my cylinder from edge to edge. Now in order to find the radius, you take half of that diameter. So cut it in half. Because if I have two radiuses here, it's going to equal a diameter. Height is how tall it is, the object is. So let's see and try to compare, so we're going to take our volume formula, V equals pi r squared height. And what we're going to do is label each part. So I know radius is the top of the circle of my cylinder and it's halfway. So this is my radius and this right here is my height, 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in those for each. So I'm going to do 11 for my height, and then my radius is 1.25 squared. Make sure that you square it, meaning you're taking that number and multiplying it by itself twice. For this part of our unit, we're going to use a calculator. So I'm going to take 1.25 and square it, meaning this x squared button. So I get 0.15625. Oops, 556.25. Now I need to multiply that by my 11. We're going to leave pi for last. Alright, so let's multiply it by 11. And we're going to see we get 17.1875. Now you're not going to round at any point until we officially are done all the way at the end. So I'm going to take my pi, and if it says leave in terms of pi, you would leave it like this with inches cubed. But I want to know what this number is times my 3.14. So remember, pi is the number 3.14. If I multiply that, what I'm going to get is, let's see, 53.96. So 53.96, I believe the next number was 8. Perfect. And we're going to stop after the thousands place because I want to round to the nearest 10th place. Meaning I need to round to this 9. Well, I know that 6 is actually going to make this 9 go up to turn into a 0. So we have actually 54 inches cubed. Okay. So remember, if we're rounding to the nearest 10th, whatever the number before it is going to round it up or down. So let's try the second one here. V equals pi r squared times my height. I would get in the habit of writing it out each time, especially until you're 100% comfortable with it. So we have our radius, which is 1.75, and I'm going to square that. And my height of my cylinder is 8.5. I'm going to bring everything else down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take 1.75 and square it. 1.75 squared. So then I have 3.0625. Then I'm going to multiply that by my height, which is 8.5. Bring everything else down. Multiply both of those numbers. And what we're going to get is 26.03125. Remember, don't round until the very end. And now we're going to multiply it by 3.14, because that's what pi is. Pi, oops. A great way to remember pi, and usually it'll tell you, pi equals 3.14. It's continuous forever, but in this case, we want to only use the first 2 digits after the decimal, so to the hundredths place. So now let's multiply. Multiply by 3.14, and we get 81.738. So we get 81.7381. Okay, so let's see. Well, I need to round to the nearest tenths place here, but I need to look at the hundredths place and the thousandths place. So I know this 8 right here is actually going to make this 3 turn into a 4. So essentially, I have so far 81.74. Well, that 4 is not going to make the 7 go up. So what I'm going to leave it as is 81.73. Or sorry, 74 inches cubed. Well, let's see. Which one has a larger volume? Because that was our original question. Well, we can obviously see that the shorter figure that has a wider radius is going to have more volume, 81 versus 54. So we can see that sometimes our eyes can trick us, especially if we think that a taller cylinder holds more volume. Sometimes in the cases, the shorter, wider one holds the more volume. So we're going to get more practice throughout the week, but there's your first intro to cylinders.